Hi everyone and welcome to my studio. In this little lesson I'm going to be showing you how to paint a simple and easy rose garden, and I hope you stick around and watch. We're going to be using the Catalyst Wedge tool again, acrylics, and palette knife to create this sort of abstract rose garden that I've been envisioning in my mind, so hopefully it turns out on the canvas. So stick around and watch this lesson. And if you like it, don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend. Let's get started. Okay, well, to start off with, I want to kind of make things a little simpler. So I'm going to start off with some, well, first of all, I've got some gloss glazing liquid that I'm going to apply. And then I'm going to paint in a background, and I'll use this paddle brush that I bought to sort of block it in from Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description. It's a 2-inch brush, and I want to get in this blue sky before I get going, just to keep it simple. You know, when you're starting out, it's not always easy having to put the background in, you know, after. So I'm going to start off by putting kind of a nice, I'll do a gradation of cobalt blue and some white. So I'm just mixing that up, and I'm going to get that in there to start. So, and the glazing medium just helps to kind of spread it. Another thing you can do is give your canvas a little mist of water, and that also helps as well. And I'm going to add a little bit of purple that I got for the near the bottom, just to have some a bit warmer tone at the bottom of the canvas. And then I'll have the cobalt blue kind of blend in. And I'm going to get a little bit more of that cobalt and white, and make it a little lighter by adding a little more white. And I'm thinking about later, when the roses are kind of forming that, almost the sky is forming that a V in the composition coming down with that lighter sky. So I'm thinking about that and putting a bit of that in there right now. Just have it a little lighter in the middle. And then you could take a little bit of the purpley base there and kind of blend it up. And I think that'll help you when you go to start putting the roses on, if you have that base down. Mixing palette thing here, and I'm going to get some of this sap green, and I want to dull it down by adding a little burnt sienna. I don't want it to be like so bright green right away. Just want to get some marks in there for the greenery, so I will kind of want to add a little bit of the liquid gloss medium to it as well. So it kind of is, it'll spread a little better as well. So I've mixed in a little bit of that liquid glazing medium in with the sap and burnt sienna mixture. And I'm just going to look at some of the, I want to get in some of the green for the leaves, just sort of put in some, I'm just working kind of abstract here, so I just want to kind of get in a few of those darker notes before I start adding the pinks. And this is a real loose and abstract, you know, rose garden. So I thought it's kind of nice because being that it's a garden, we don't have to work so high detail on the roses. It's just going to be a really fun and you know, just sort of free painting. And I love floral kind of, I'd call it almost like a landscape at this, when you add, you know, this much to it with the sky and everything. It's not so much a still life anymore. And so I really like that. Get a little more of that sap. And this time I'm going to add a little bit of that transparent oxide yellow in there. And I'll get some of the, put in a few of these branches. I'll add more later, but I'm just looking at my reference and sort of putting in some of those. And you can always use your palette knife too. Get some more of that burnt sienna and add a little bit into that green for the branches, so I have some of a different color for some of the branches. All right, so I'm going to start off with blocking with a little bit of this Liquitex Basics alizarin. And you'll notice I write on the bottle sometimes what it is I've got that I'm using to block in. So I'm going to begin blocking in with some of that alizarin crimson from Liquitex Basics, this one here. And I'm looking at my reference photo and I'm seeing sort of another V formation. So I'm kind of paying attention to that just because, you know, it adds a little bit of a kind of a dynamic to the painting. And I'm also going to use my reference photo as a guide, but then when it comes to sizing, I may have to kind of, you know, I'll just adjust it to fit what I want to see on this canvas. So for now I'm applying the paint and I'm just kind of putting in a few of these roses here, kind of looking at the different, it's already a really nice kind of formation, but I am just putting in some of that alizarin because I want it kind of build the roses dark to light. And I see some other little, there's just some other bits of color of roses coming all the way down, so I'll put just some marks in. And this one's a little higher. But I already like the way this paint goes on with this. I'm going to make this one a lot bigger. it just glides on and really works well for making roses. It's amazing. The Catalyst Wedge. And so you can see I've got this little row of them coming. There's one up in the sky. I'll put a little bit of one up there. And I really love that I can't really get exact with this tool, so I really do create looser paintings that I want. And so it's been a lot of fun painting this way, and it's a real challenge to me to let go of my need to have everything a certain way, you know. And but I always wanted to paint. When I see paintings that are really loose, I always go, oh, I wish I could learn to simplify, you know, my brush strokes and everything. Well, this is a really good way to do it. Okay, and then there's a whole bundle of them kind of up high up here. Just gonna block in some of those. Some of those, all those little roses in the background there. I'll put some of those ones. I kind of like the way they're going off the canvas there, so I can throw some of that up there. And can always add some more later, but just sort of put in a few of these last minute ones there. And then, okay, so now I've sort of got an idea of everything. Just put in a little bit more that in the background in some places. Okay, so now I want to start adding some of the lighter color in there. And I love the way this one is, the focal point is sort of blurry. So we don't need it to be blurry, but it may turn out that way. But I really like the colors, the kind of that real, there's a dark pink, pinky red, and then it goes to a cool pink, and then to this real bright light pink. So if we think about it, kind of break it down into little parts like that, it'll probably take on a good shape. So I'll get some of this, I think it's like a pyro red, and then I'm going to mix in some of that, well, it looks like I got some green in there too, but that's okay. I'm going to mix in a little bit of this, there's some primary red in there, just with the pyro red, so it becomes a little more transparent. And I'm just going to get that, I'm looking at that shape there, and I'm just going to put in some of that kind of glowing red that's sort of in there. Then I can kind of do that with these guys down here. Just sort of get some of that in there. You can always go back with your alizarin and sort of mix in to blend it. Just get a little bit of that alizarin on your brush again, and just sort of blend it too. And now I'm gonna work on these ones here first because I know they'll dry otherwise. Now I'm gonna add some white in, and I'll use some of that primary red color and make this pink. And then I want to, for the middle tone, I'm going to mix the rest of it in with all that red and add a little dab of cobalt to it just to kind of give it that, it's going to make it more of a shadow pink by adding that cobalt. Okay, so I'm looking at that and I'm going to put in a few of those petals in there with that shadowy pink, the one we added the cobalt to. And I'm just going to really kind of put in that layer, thinking of it kind of coming up, and then these will be really bright, these ones here. So I'll do the same here where I see some of the petals look kind of like a shadowy color. To sort of make some petal shapes in there. And I'm just kind of working it into those while the paint is still kind of wet. And now I'm going to go and add some of that lighter pink to the real bright area of the rose there that I see. And I'll just get a little more white in there. Kind of make a lighter pink. So it kind of went from dark to middle to light. Just trying to keep it kind of simple and easy to follow there. So you can see now I've got this lighter area that I'm looking at here. And I really love these kind of garden roses. They're so beautiful and so dramatic. And I'll do the same. I'll get a lighter version of that bluey pink color and kind of put that down in here. And then I'll do the same. I'll go and add where there's a lot more of a highlight there. Put some of that real light pink on these. But I am leaving spaces in between so I don't lose all the underpaint there. I'm just using the corner of my Catalyst Wedge to do more of the details. Just sort of blending that in. And then I'll add a little bit to those other roses here. But I don't mind that I'm not going to get exact, shape on them. I just want to leave some of them really kind of just there, you know what I mean? They're not really easily, they're just shapes, that you just know are roses because they're in a rose garden, so you don't have to worry about it too much. Now I'm mixing up a puddle of some alizarin with the white, and that'll give me more of a duller pink for these ones that are a little further away. So same thing, I'm just kind of moving that tool around, making kind of abstract shapes that kind of give it that rosy feel. Looking at my reference a bit. And even smudge some of those a bit with the side of your tool to really loosen those up. And I'll mix a little more of that alizarin in so it's a little bit darker even. And real loose and abstract up here. You can tell that they're like roses blowing in the wind up there, but you don't really see every single mark. And I'll kind of bring this one in here. This one I kind of like that it's facing kind of to the side, so I'm going to show that a bit. Just kind of leave the center dark and kind of show that these petals are going off to the edge like that. And this one's really pretty because it's kind of facing down, but kind of to the side as well, like this one. Just getting a little bit of a mid-tone red, using alizarin and that white just to get something kind of in the middle to blend in. Dragging that down in the background so those ones kind of loosen up a little. So that way your focal point is really in the center here with that main rose. And so I really like how these background ones turned out. So I'm just gonna kind of mix up a little bit more of that alizarin and a little bit, I'll add a little bit of cobalt to it so it dulls it right down. So it's a really dull. And I want to kind of bring in these flowers that are kind of behind this flower so that it kind of connects you across. So I'll add a little bit of that darker mixture. Kind of connect it a little more. I'll have some green coming behind this one too for sure, but I just wanted to fill in some of these spots that I need a little more paint. And that makes a nice warm color, that alizarin and cobalt mix. I really enjoy the way this paint comes on there, and also these colors. I love the different pinks and with the blue. And we're gonna add some really beautiful greens and whatnot too. So now I'm gonna mix up a really kind of light pink using this. I got this rose pink color from Liquitex that I really like. It's such a bubblegum pink kind of color. So I'll just add some white to that. So I'm going to look at some real light highlights now that form kind of the edges on a lot of these where the sunlight really kind of hits the edge.